Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Yeah.
The views expressed by J. Michael McCoy are the views of the hosts and guests of Max, and not necessarily the views of Webcast One Live, its staff, its management, the cleaning crew, Dave the electric guy, the guy who cleans the skywalk, the woman who brought in the cookies, the management staff of Hubble Real Estate, the parking lot attendant at Keck Parking, the wait staff over at Miss Kitty's, the coffee crew at Frederick's, the man in the street corner willing to work for food, Rob Spearman, Max Crabb, or anyone else of sound mind. Should you be offended, provoked, intimidated, shocked, confused, or just made to think independently, log on to maxworldlive.com right here in Max World. And now, live from the palatial studios of Webcast One Live, your host, J. Michael McCoy.
Good afternoon. It's the 5th day of August in the Lord's year 2014. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is the Tuesday edition of The View from a Pew. We call this Max World with Tom Coates. Every Tuesday for just about an hour, we sit down with all the influential people behind the podiums. Sometimes it's the wizard behind the big curtain, and sometimes it's the candidates themselves. And today, I don't know if you knew this. You've heard of Branstad, right? Okay. You heard of Jack Hatch, right? And you've heard of Dr. Heeb. Well, ladies and gentlemen, are you the fourth candidate to get in the race?
Yes.
Okay. Jonathan Narcisse, former school board member, former city council member, has decided that he would like to be your governor. And we've got him in with Tom Coates today to just discuss this for a while. So, how are you?
I am fantastic.
You look good.
Well, thank you. It's good to see you. Good to see you, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the show.
So why are you running for governor?
Well, over the past few years, I've had a chance to travel all 99 counties, have developed a great affection for this state and the people of the state. Iowans are just good, decent, honorable people, very trusting. But our leadership has failed. And I believe that I can bring the kind of leadership to this state that puts the interests of Iowans first and foremost above those of cronies and contributors.
Now, in the past, when you've been in positions of authority and responsibility, you didn't really lead anybody on the school board. They kind of threw you into the river.
Well, that's one perspective. The other is that I got results, and those were documentable results. And that's what matters. Sometimes people get confused. They think that the job of an elected official is to be liked and popular rather than to be effective and get results.
Well, so Obama proves that. You don't have to be liked to be president.
Well, my focus is Iowa. And in Iowa, what we've had over the past 30 years of the Branstad-Hatch era are individuals who've been able to be very effective politicians, but they haven't necessarily served the interests of Iowans. On January 3rd, 1993, on January 3rd, 1993, Iowans awoke to Governor Branstad, Senators Harkin and Grassley, Jack Hatch in the legislature, and 6 U.S. representatives. 20 years later to the date, they went to bed with Governor Branstad, Senators Harkin and Grassley, Senator Hatch serving in the legislature, and only 4 members of the Iowa U.S. House of Representatives, a massive decline in education, stagnant growth, high levels of poverty in our urban area, but the 2 individuals had become very wealthy. So Iowa needs someone who's going to put the interests of the people first. That's why my first official act as governor, should I be elected, will be to wrest control from the power elite and to give Iowa back to the people where it belongs.
Well, speaking of the powerful elite, Tom, do you want to step in here?
Well, absolutely, Jonathan. We're honored to have you as well as all of the past luminaries that we've had on this show. I will start off by
Did you say past Looney Tunes?
Luminaries. I will make an observation. From my days in West Texas, you have that hat setting wrong. The days where they had the Stetsons and the Resistals, they told me early on that if you put your hat down like that, it starts to break down the brim, and it just uncomfortably the way it sits. You should have it turned the other way. So that's just a little piece of West Texas wisdom for you. He's got a hat that's off camera. Let me pick this up and show this to the people. This is a nice hat. It should be laid down like
Well,
that.
thank you, Tom, for
There
that
you go.
advice. I
So,
appreciate it.
He is right, though. He's right.
No, I appreciate that advice. And now we can just get you to be that effective in convincing our current governor to stand up for the things that are right, whether it's appointing the right people instead of cronies to office, or actually being pro-life and not funding abortions as he's done.
All right, well, let's go into this. First off, Matt gave a few of the items. I'd like for you to tell the audience what most qualifies you to seek their highest elected office in the state of Iowa.
Well, 4 years ago, I thought the office was about being advocate in chief and the person who had all the answers. And I've learned that since then, that's not the job of the governor. The primary job of the governor of Iowa is to appoint good men and women to public office, to high office and boards and commissions, men and women who are competent, effective, efficient, and will put the interests of Iowans, our taxpayers, our families, and children first, and then to hold them accountable. That is the job of the governor. We have seen that Governor Branstad is not qualified when that is the definition because too many of his cronies and contributors took high office. We've seen the scandals. We've seen things like 4 people from a suburb of Polk County be a majority of a commission, which is unacceptable. But we've also seen where the Democrats in the Senate, including Senator Hatch, have basically gone along with pretty much everything the governor's done. So what qualifies Jonathan Narcisse is that in each and every position, he will put the best qualified person, not the person who wrote me the biggest check, but the person who's going to serve Iowans best. If you are the smartest person in the world, you cannot run education, corrections, cultural affairs, economic development simultaneously. What you have to be able to do in that position is find the people who are going to do that and do that effectively.
Well, let me stop you here, Jonathan. Maybe I wasn't clear in what I was asking. It's an interesting and it's a long-ranging diatribe, but what I'm really looking for is your resume.
Thank you for that editorial, Tom, but let me clarify the answer.
Let me
qualifies me
clarify
is
the
that I will
question,
appoint
Jonathan.
the best men and women,
All right.
people who serve Iowa, and not cronies and
but I'm
contributors.
looking for, I'm being clear now,
Sure.
Jonathan. Your resume to be our governor is what? I'm giving you another opportunity, maybe with a little more clarity. Where is your resume and what does it state that says I'm applying for the job of governor? There we go.
Well, and Tom, here's a simple answer, and it may not fit those who supported Branstad, but it's real simple. The time has come to elect a governor who is not only honest, but will put the interests of Iowans above the interests of the people who write them checks. That hasn't happened for the last 30 years for the most part, and it will happen with the Narcisse administration. Now, if individuals want to look at a piece of paper and say, oh, this person is qualified because of X, Y, and Z, they should vote for him. But if Iowans want someone who is going to put the right people in office, who's going to appoint people because they're qualified, competent, direct them to do the right things, then they have a clear choice, and that's Jonathan Narcisse.
I'm an employer. Mac's an employer. You've been an employer in the past. I'm asking you the basic question that anybody, an employer, would ask somebody because you're applying for the job as our governor.
Absolutely.
And I'm asking to see your resume for this job. And so far, you haven't given me that. Can you put things down on your background and your resume that would help the voters look at you as a qualified candidate?
Well, I believe absolutely so, whether it's the effective service that I provided on the school board, whether it's the other areas in which I provided leadership, such as being able to bring together Republicans and Democrats, whether that was Jack Hatch and Chuck Larson on the education issue, or it was Gretchen Tiegler and Jeff Healing on government reform, or Brad Zahn and Deborah Berry on economic reform. And these are all well documented. But again, I go back to what is the real job of the governor. The job of the governor is not to put his biggest contributor in charge of regions.
I understand the
job of the governor.
I understand that indictment, and I'm not even arguing that. I'm just trying to get off of the square one of where you're coming from, what your background is, and why you're qualified.
Sure, and Tom, let me just summarize by saying this. I've answered the question. You may not like the answer. I've said what I believe qualifies me most is that I'm honest, and I will put people in office who will actually serve the best interests of Iowans. I won't be paying hush money, in order to put my cronies in place. Now, if that doesn't satisfy certain people, they won't vote for me. But I've given the answer to your question.
You want to achieve. I understand
No,
that. That's part of your
achieve.
platform, part of your plank. I appreciate that. But I guess, Mac, did he answer my question in regards to his resume?
No.
Okay.
Well,
All right, we'll move on.
And I believe that's an opinion. I believe there are a lot of people out there who are ready for honest governance. Take, for example, our president. He can say, I graduated from Harvard, and I did. Well, you know what? But there comes a time when leadership is about character, not credentials. Our president had outstanding credentials, and Americans said, wow. But what he didn't have was the leadership character required in this day and age. So we need to elect more than, as you would say, a resume. We need to look at the character of a man. And when it comes to the character of a man to serve in this office, Governor Branstad has failed and failed miserably. Not his personal character, but when you pay hush money, when you operate government as if it's a reward system for your contributors, it disqualifies you regardless of what law school you graduated from or regardless of what university you may have operated.
Jonathan Narcisse is our guest today. He is the fourth candidate you'll find on your gubernatorial ticket when you go in to vote on November 3rd. Is that right? November 3rd?
November 4th.
November 4th, 2014. All right. You said Branstad paid hush money. Who did he pay hush money to?
Well, that's a well-documented fact. But, Matt, can I say this? I'm not running.
Terrible at answering our questions, isn't he?
You know, but I've learned. I learned from running before.
For another 45 minutes,
Tom. But you know what? I learned from both running before and I learned from being on the school board. I'm not running against Branstad or against Hatch to sit and criticize what they've done or not done. I'm running because I believe we have solutions, ideas, and options for Iowans. And I have the luxury in this race of those two basically hammering each other. Well, I talk solutions. For example, we have a crisis in education that needs solutions. We have stagnant growth in our state that needs solutions. I would much rather talk about those solutions than attack and criticize my opponents, even though the media loves negative politicking.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, you said Branstad paid hush money. I want to know to who.
And I'm saying that's well documented.
Okay, tell me who it is, Jonathan. You don't come on my show and say something like that without backing it up. Who did he pay hush money to?
Mac, he paid money to individuals to leave government so that he could replace them with his cronies. That's unacceptable. It's a matter of public record.
But it's not hush money.
Well,
it's what you get. What is that called when you let somebody
severance.
go? It's severance.
Well,
why do you call it hush money?
It's a long-standing basis for past governors to do this.
And it wasn't right then, and it wasn't right now.
Right.
I've been an outspoken critic of Culver and the Democrats in the past. I haven't been biased in my criticism. But again, what are we going to do to fix the state? We have real issues and crises in this state. And just attacking the failed policies of our governor or Democrats in the Senate isn't going to fix our state. Maybe entertaining, but it isn't productive.
But I think what Mac is saying is that, I came out of the chute asking you for your resume, and instead you attacked Branstad. Now he's saying, who. Now, I'm willing to move past who because I understand what you're saying. All right, let's go to your goals. What specifics, priority-wise, and we're about to run out of time, but when we come back, let's go to maybe the top 3 objectives that you have if you were to become governor, all right?
Sure.
All right.
Jonathan Narcisse is our guest today. He used to do a program on this platform. What'd you call it? Jonathan's Front Porch?
Jonathan's Front Porch.
Yeah.
And Tom actually tried to burn down a town and put a burning car on a highway and shot it down a hill. And took his wife to a drive-in for their first date.
Tom learned those things when Tom was on your show.
Tom was on my show. He was a bad boy.
Well, yes.
He was a naughty young man.
That's true. I can give you some of my...
he was a naughty young man.
That's just a few of the points.
Running water out of a town.
Tom, don't press him on any more tough questions. He's got all the dirt on you. He's got all the dirt on you.
The period of has expired on
Okay.
being able to indict me on those things.
All right, let's take a break. It's Max World on this View from the Pew Tuesday. Jonathan Narcisse is my guest. Tom's in the house. I'm Mac, and if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Here on KTIA, Iowa.
Yes, now your favorite programs on Webcast One Live can all be watched and listened to on any Android or Apple device. Your phone, tablet, or iPad. Yes, your favorite shows on Webcast One Live are available live or on podcast wherever you go. Let me introduce to you some of our great shows.
Shalom. Every week on Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman, we'll talk about issues in the Middle East, issues related to the Jewish tradition and religious traditions in general, and keep you up to date on exactly what's going on around the world. You may know some of the story, but you haven't heard all of the story until you've heard it on Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman and our special guests we have on every week.
Hey, this is Doc with Doc and Lefty. I want to tell you about our brand new time slot. It's from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. It's on the same night, Tuesdays. We now follow Ed Fallon and the Fallon Forum on webcast1live.com. I want to tell you a little bit about our show. Our show is focused on local, state, and national, and sometimes international politics. We like to keep people updated and informed. We also have very interesting guests. So please join us every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. on webcast1live.com.
So when you want to watch your favorite Webcast One program, remember, there's an app for that. You know, there's an app for that.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
You've experienced God's power, and you've heard the sermons telling you to reach the lost by demonstrating the kingdom of God on the streets. But has anyone ever helped you do it?
The Kingdom Power Immersion Camp.
It's time for action. If you need help, we'll show you how. Get hands-on training from experienced coaches as we bring the kingdom of God to the Iowa State Fair. We'll work together and help you walk in God's power. Get equipped for a kingdom of God lifestyle as you touch thousands with God's love and power. Heal the sick, prophesy, and walk in dominion. You'll never be the same again. Let Dave and Patty Lockett of Holy Spirit-led Ministries and Andy Hayner of Full Speed Impact and a team of John G. Lake Ministry directors work with you for a lifestyle walking in God's power.
The Kingdom Power Immersion Camp.
August 6th to 17th. Come for all of it or part of it. Don't miss the special student camp August 10th to 17th. Go to fullspeedimpact.com or hslm.us for more information.
Okay, 21 minutes after the hour on this 5th day of August in the Lord's year 2014. August, September, October, November. 3 months till general election, right? August to September, September to October, November. So 89 days.
93.
93 days?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot the 31s.
Counting today.
Yeah. 93 days until you elect a new governor. And Branstad is going for, would this be the national longest?
He'd be the longest serving governor in the history of America.
Of America.
Yep. Yes.
Yep. And Jack Hatch, who is a local developer and a legislator and businessman, he's thrown his hand in the ring, his hat in the ring. He's on the Democratic side. Dr. Hebe, she is the Libertarian candidate. Now, are you associated with a party? Or is it just the Jonathan
one
Party?
of the exciting, no, not the Jonathan Party. One of the exciting things that will come into existence as of November 4th will be a new Iowa-based political party that focuses on Iowa issues, whether it's improving education or improving the economy We are going to encourage individuals to stay Democrats or Republicans as it relates to national and ideological issues, but there just hasn't been a focus on what we need to do to improve Iowa, whether it's addressing some fundamental issues of corruption like the funding of non-existent students to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, or addressing significant failures in the way we structure and hold government accountable.
All right, now the student thing. How does that land in the governor's office? Isn't that a school board? Isn't that a school
it's not.
issue?
The state. Well, first of all, the state writes the checks for the students, and the state has the responsibility to hold accountable both the Department of Education, and it has a responsibility of holding school districts for reporting responsibly and honestly. Now, to put this in perspective, it's no different than when the defense attorney in Clay County, public defender in Clay County, was claiming 27 hours of service, or we see the Medicare doctor or Medicaid doctor claiming 800 patients a day. We fund students that don't exist, and we fund them to the tune of hundreds of millions. I actually had a chance on a radio show last year, one-on-one with Governor Branstad, to ask him about this. He said, we're going to look into it and do something. Jack Hatch has even more intimate knowledge because he actually proposed legislation to end this practice before suddenly he just faded away on the issue. It's well known. School districts from one end of the state to the other do it. In part, they do it to support this massive, duplicative, wasteful bureaucracy. I actually have on my phone, when I go around and talk to most media, a school district that I bring up. It has 94 staff, a principal, a superintendent, 2 business managers, a board secretary, a student secretary, transportation director, about 35 staff for those 90-something students. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's a waste. In 1950-51, we had 4,652 school districts, but we did not have 4,652 bureaucracies. Now, part of the problem also is that Iowa typically tends to be 2 one-party states. Democrats control areas like Iowa City and Des Moines. Republicans control suburbs and small and rural areas. So neither side is in a rush to end their vast accessing of bureaucratic excess. So what we need to do in an age when Walmart can run its vast empire with a workforce the size of the population of Iowa from one place in the known universe, we need to simply eviscerate that duplicative, massive, and wasteful bureaucracy and either put that money back into tax relief or spend it on truly educating our students.
So you're talking about cutting a lot of jobs.
I'm saying that we are going to eviscerate a massive bureaucracy, and if you can't get a job with that PhD or that master's, McDonald's is hiring.
Okay, well.
But government is not supposed to be a welfare agency or an employment agency. It's supposed to exist to serve taxpayers. It's too big and it's wasteful.
And you know, I've been an incredible fan of yours long before you were on the school board, and I supported you all through that school board. But you have to, you know, English says when you, I can't even say the big word, viscerate.
Eviscerate.
When you eviscerate that many school districts, jobs are lost.
I didn't say school districts. We actually don't have to get rid of school districts. Mac, in 1950-51, we had 4,652 school districts, but we had these things called county superintendents. The superintendency was never meant to be an instructional position. It was a business management function. And principals and teachers were then left to be instructional leaders, and parents were allowed to engage, whether it was the PTA or on school boards. Then all of a sudden, we started creating this massive, even in the midst of consolidation, this massive expansion of actual bureaucratic positions and massive duplication. So what we end up with now is layer after layer of bureaucracy.
Agreed.
We created these things called regional support associations, otherwise known as AEAs. Simple concept. You can't afford a superintendent, I can't, we can. You can't afford a bookkeeper, I can't, we can't. It was a brilliant concept, but it was threatening. The DeWitt School District contracted their superintendency, which was a 6-figure expenditure, with the Mississippi Bend AEA. Cost them $14,000. They actually were able to reinvest those savings in the district. A lot of small districts wanted to do it because that meant kids could stay in their neighborhoods. But the big districts that control the voting literally on the AEA said no, because they wanted to protect the phony baloney superintendency in the state. So we have in Iowa this massive love of bureaucratic excess, whether it's at the county level or the municipal level, but especially at the school district level.
As Americans, we love massive government.
Florida has 67 counties. Iowa has 99, and they're a little bigger than us.
I understand.
I'm just saying.
But the sucking off the teat of the taxpayer has become the American way.
It's not uniquely Iowan.
No, it's across
it's
the
just
country.
we do it better than most.
Well, perhaps, but there's some things we do
more,
very, very well.
Mac, we have more government per capita in Iowa than anywhere else in the country.
Well, same with casinos.
Yes, and I would like to thank Governor Branstad for leaving a prayer breakfast and legalizing gambling and destroying lots of families' lives. Thank you, Governor Branstad. But I would like to commend Tom on his opposition to gambling because he has done a good job helping.
Hold on, back up. He left Iowa prayer breakfast.
No, Governor Branstad, the day that gambling was legalized in Iowa by Governor Branstad, he was at a prayer breakfast. I was actually at that prayer breakfast. He left, and then he gave us gambling as a gift to the state. It has hurt people in Iowa. It has damaged families.
Look, you agree.
I would like to commend Tom on all his work in opposing the massive expansion and impact of gambling, but make no mistake about it. It was a gift from the Branstad administration.
Yeah, okay, Jonathan, but any governor in that period of time.
You brought up casinos, Mac, not me. I was talking education.
I understand, but any governor at that time, once the legislature decided we could have casinos. It wasn't Branstad's decision. Branstad, as the chief operating officer in the state of Iowa, had to sign the bill. You're right, he could have vetoed it.
And this is where we go back to my point in the beginning. I don't care if you have a PhD from Harvard and a master's degree and you're a brain surgeon from Johns Hopkins. It comes down to one or two things. Either you legalize gambling and you destroy families and destroy lives, or you say no to gambling and you don't hurt the economy, and you don't hurt families, and you don't have people filing bankruptcies, and you don't have all that devastating impact that Tom has pointed out over the years. Well, it's a simple question of leadership.
Okay, now, but I know a little something about addiction. There are people out there. What percentage of people are the ones that really blow their lives at the casino?
Oh, the pathological number is anywhere from 1.5% to 5%, depend upon how you measure.
All right, so 5% of the people that go
to 5% are
are
problem and pathological. Yeah.
All right, so 5% of the people that go to the casinos have all the issues with their families and everything you just talked about. 95% go out and have fun. That would be like me as an alcoholic to say, listen, we need to ban all alcohol in the state of Iowa. We need to be dry because we had 372 people die last year in automobile accidents that had to do with alcohol.
You know, Mac, I would not have legalized gambling. Branstad did. I leave that to Iowans to decide what was right.
The legislature did it.
No, he signed it.
But the legislature did all the work.
Mac,
they are the ones that represent the people.
Mac, the governor is not
Signed
a bystander. He's not a bystander.
Okay. All right.
And Mac, you can defend it, but the fact is the governor has the ability to. It's just like Governor Branstad and Jack Hash both want to raise the gas tax after this huge, massive commercial property tax they gave. We don't need to raise the gas tax. That's devastating. You know what would actually save more money than raising the gas tax? If Governor Branstad, who has demagogued this issue on 130 kids while he's completely thrown open the door to illegal immigration, if he simply called up the head of DHS and said, you know what, before you hand out those hundreds of millions of dollars of benefits, authenticate citizenship in compliance with federal law. Now, that would actually save us more money than the gas tax would even come close to raising. The governor can do that, Mac. He can call his person and say...
Do you have any idea what would happen in this state or any state?
So then don't act like I'm standing tough on 136 kids when you're actually participating and throwing the door wide open and costing taxpayers $1 billion subsidizing illegal immigration. This is one thing.
The governor said with these kids coming across the border, he said none.
Governor,
he said none.
Mac, Governor Branstad could make a call to the head of DHS and say, comply with the law. Remember when Joe Wilson said President Obama was lying?
Yes.
Well, the reason he said it is because the president said we are not going to give benefits to individuals who are not legally entitled as citizens of the U.S. So it is a violation of federal law to give those benefits. The Branstad administration not only grew welfare from 39.40 to 41.5% of the all state expenditures, they not only said our major reform is handing out free cell phones, but he has not made a single effort to comply with federal law and save Iowa taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. So now all of a sudden you're going to stand tough on 136 kids when you're wasting hundreds of millions of dollars of Iowa tax money? Mac, that's the kind of doublespeak and hypocrisy that has caused Iowa to fall so dramatically over the last 20 years.
Do you know that Iowa was 49th, one from the bottom, on the percentage of what you call welfare increases over the last 4 years? The federal government caused those increases.
Well,
Governor Branstad stood hard and wouldn't let those increases become what they were federally.
Actually, Mac, that's simply ridiculous. Governor Branstad has made no attempts to reform welfare. For example, I have said things
Didn't
like,
you tell me earlier that he wasn't running against Branstad?
Listen, well, but you brought this up.
You were
and
in
my
the room,
point,
weren't you?
But you brought, and my point is this: that, for example, there are some common sense reforms that both Governor Branstad and Hatch have opposed, like requiring an ID to use food stamp cards. Now, here's what happens. That's not mean, because no children go hungry. In fact, children actually eat better. When you say, in order for you to use a food stamp card, you must show an ID. What that means is that you're ending the practice of those cards being sold to individuals who walk in with big stacks while you take that money that you got for selling it below market value and buying drugs, alcohol, gambling services, and yes, illegal drugs, which means that you reduce the number of bullets fired in Des Moines, Waterloo, Cedar Rapids. So it's reasonable to say have a ID with the food stamp card. It's reasonable to say, since drugs aren't cheap or free, if you can be on dope, you're not going to be on welfare too. So you drug test. It's reasonable to say the day you get your benefits, you get a work assignment, volunteering at a school, working at a nonprofit, and giving back because work is redemptive.
Did I just hold on? You got to take a breath every once in a while, brother. I need to talk. It's called Mac's World, not Jonathan's World. This isn't Jonathan's front porch.
But do you disagree with those things, Mac? Because Branstad and Hatch do, because they've never fought for them.
All right. When you just said something about requiring an ID
to use a food stamp card.
To use a food stamp card.
Absolutely.
All right. We're going to talk about that when we come back. Are you going to help me out here, or are you just going to sit back and laugh?
Well,
There's no room for me to get into this thing.
Well, he agrees with me, but he can't say so because Branstad doesn't.
I'll give you the whole next. I'll go get a cup of coffee from Friedrich's. I'll go to Burger King. I'll run the Skywalk if you want to take this.
It's hard supporting a candidate that you don't agree with, and hard opposing a candidate you do, isn't it?
We're coming back live here on The View from a Pew on KTIA, Iowa.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager.
I'm the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
All right, 22 before the top, 4 o'clock. Salem Radio Network News, and then Pastor Michael Mudloff with True Blue. It's the 5th day of August, State Fair just around the corner. I'm sure, Tom, you'll be in your same place, in the Knapp air-conditioned
Varied Industries
building.
Thank you for that plug. Yes, I'm going to go set up tomorrow.
Always there with consumer credit.
That's right.
And Tom is a really reasonable guy. He only charges 25 cents for an autograph. So bring the kids, bring the grandkids, and do that there.
$1 for a picture.
$1 for a picture. Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to hand the mic to you, and then I want to go to the drugs issue a little bit later.
Yeah, I can say, I'm back from my nap. Here we go. Jonathan, let's get back to where I wanted to go after the first break. You perhaps laid out one of your goals as you and Mac were talking. Give me a couple other high priority goals if you were to become the governor that you would like to move to try to get done.
Well, education is absolutely one of them. Reforming government in Iowa. There's a lot of corruption. We need to address that. People who work hard, sometimes 2 and 3 jobs, deserve better than to have their money squandered by incompetent or corrupt bureaucrats and incompetent and corrupt politicians.
Sure.
So that's a key priority, addressing the stagnation in our population. But also, as we look at our urban centers especially, 70% of the families with kids enrolled in Des Moines schools can't feed them. We look at the same in Waterloo, Davenport, Cedar Rapids, comparable numbers. And a huge part of that has to do with the breakdown of the fiber of the family and the breakdown of the fiber of character in our community. And I think one role that the governor can play, instead of running around the country giving away our money to companies or running around the world and giving away our money to companies like Orascom based in Egypt, what the governor ought to be doing is using the bully pulpit of his administration to address some fundamental things that will help fix our state. For example, men who father children should raise them. Now, they should marry the women that they get pregnant, but you can't mandate that. But what you can challenge individuals to do is accept responsibility. I have long spoken against the corruption and the waste and the abuse in public education, but someone needs to say to parents, you need to show up at school. You need to be there on behalf of your child. You don't just get to drop your child at kindergarten and pick them up at 12th grade and then complain. Or worse yet, drop them off at kindergarten, pick them up at 12th grade, send them to college, and after you write that first $25,000 check, you find out that they can't function in college. You need to be engaged in the lives of your children. You need to be responsible. I said this on radio yesterday morning when I was in Fort Dodge. I've said it before on the blowtorch. I've never gotten the call that said, come help make the baby. I understand making babies is fun. I've never gotten the call that said, Mr. Narcisse, since you're expected to raise the baby, come help make the baby. I've never gotten that call. So it's time to say to individuals, you need to step up and accept responsibility. Now, we will provide you some help and support. Like one of the things I believe is that we need, and I often talk about human service reform because 40 cents out of every dollar we spend as a state is spent in that area. We need to stair step drug tests. We need to require work as part of the condition of receiving benefits. But we also need to say to individuals, if you go out there and you get a job in the private sector, whether it's a McDonald's or someplace else, if you need a little help with child care, we'll give it. If you need a little help for food, we'll give it, because we want to transition you from dependence to self-sufficiency, because that's how we're going to stabilize this state. by beginning the process of ending poverty, by beginning the process of ending dependency. And we don't end dependency through entitlements. We end dependency through the nurturing benefits of work, through the nurturing benefits of accountability, self-respect, and self-reliance. You know, so those are critical.
What I'm hearing you say also on some of the issues that we like to talk about on this show, Jonathan, are the social issues, life, the definition of marriage.
And I'm proud of being the only true pro-life candidate in this race.
And what would you do in regards to the judicial activism we've been exposed to here in the state of Iowa on the definition of marriage? What would you do on that?
Well, I think my outspokenness against judicial activism is part of what contributed to the absurdity of that ruling in March, keeping me off the ballot. We met every legal standard based on Iowa, but unfortunately, the judge made his ruling based upon a case in Arizona. Matter of public record.
Okay, but let's get back to marriage.
So the reality is that we need to. Those judges should have been voted off the bench. I voted to get them off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another problem that we had on the marriage issue. The Iowa Family Policy Center's decision, at a time when you had Democrats and Republicans united in opposition to the activism of the court, decided to turn that event where you had this significant unity into a Bob Vanderplaats endorsement rally.
Of course.
And that killed the issue. And as long as we have groups and organizations that take social issues and turn them into fundraisers and political agendas instead of actually trying to address it, we're going to have a problem.
Well, you and I want to disagree with that.
You mentioned Dr. Lee Heap. Dr. Lee Heap clearly states on her website that abortion is between a woman and her doctor and the government has no role.
Right.
She takes the classic pro-choice position, but she wrote out a $1,000 check or whatever, and so she's going to have a booth at the Family Leader Summit. So when you talk about what should define pro-choice, and you can't fund abortions and say you're pro-choice,
right.
pro-life, here's how I define pro-life, unapologetically. Life begins at conception. It's an unborn child. It's just on the other side of the womb, and we must protect that life.
Okay, that's very simple and that's clear, and I appreciate that. I really do. Where do you come down on the issue of the marriage?
Well, I was outspoken about the importance of protecting traditional marriage, but I also deal with the reality that segments of the Republican Party and religious right decided to turn it into a fundraising event.
And I don't disagree with that,
And so that has effectively killed our ability to have movement.
But what do you say? What would you do? How would you lead on this issue?
Well, as I've said, I believe in traditional marriage, but I also believe that between groups like the One Iowas and groups like the Family Leader, that they have effectively turned this into a money-making opportunity, and the ability to get serious movement on this issue for now is dead, regardless of what the governor does.
Would you try to lead the legislature? Now, I know we can't do it right now with Gronstal, but let's presume for a second that we see a shift in the Iowa legislature where the Republicans regain control of the Iowa Senate, and they have the House and the Senate. Would you then, as governor?
Well, Craig Paulson made it clear as soon as he came into power that he had no intention to move on the marriage issue, nor did he have an intention to hold those judges that remained accountable. And this is part of the reality. It's not a Republican or Democratic problem. Paulson was no more interested in taking on this issue than Gronstal.
Well, okay, but if you're the governor, you've already mentioned the bully pulpit, Jonathan. What would you do with the bully pulpit to try to lead where the Iowa people still are? If you gave a vote today to the Iowa people, they would still, the majority, vote for traditional marriage.
And this is what I said in 2009, 2010, and this is what I say now. That a governor can play a critical role in fixing education, fixing government, fixing the economy. But in order to fix the state, we have to get God back in the lives of individuals. The church has to start taking up a role that's more significant than just singling out one or two issues, because adultery is also a sin. There are lots of sins. And so we have basically said we're going to pick one or two issues and make them fundraisers. And so what we have to do, and I've said this, I would pull together the pastors of this state. And I would say to them, we need you to step up your fight against sin. We have a huge problem when men make babies that they don't raise. We have a huge problem when we have families devastated by the impact of adultery and infidelity. And we need a church today that steps up and proclaims the power and redemptive healing of a risen Christ, not just political demagoguing on whatever issue will get a check written tomorrow.
Okay, we agree with that, Jonathan. We agree with. I'm not going to argue 1 second about that, but I'm still looking for an answer. Would you lead on the marriage issue and try to be the voice for people that think we should not codify deviant marriage in this state?
Here's what
you
I
have
would do.
here. You hold. Come back and ask that question when we come back from the break. And we have. You're in luck, guys. We have less than 10 minutes. And then Jonathan has to go.
And then you don't have to worry about real solutions anymore.
Jonathan Narcisse is our guest, fourth name on the gubernatorial candidate ticket.
But first in your heart, Matt.
Always on your November 4th ballot. Tom Coates in the house, Ryan producing. We'll be back here on KTIA, Iowa. Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
See them here, see them there. You got bad credit, we don't care.
Visit emetroford.com for your guaranteed credit approval. Good credit, bad credit, no credit. Everybody drives with guaranteed credit approval at emetroford.com. Visit emetroford.com today.
Minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News. And as you can see, the conversation continues even when the microphones are off. Jonathan just Energizer Bunny on steroids. But that's good. That's good. I've always loved you for that. I'm just glad that we're not doing a 3-hour show anymore.
I told you this hour would go quickly, Mac. Let's come back to the question, and to repeat the question was, would you lead on the marriage issue? Still today, I believe the polls would show the majority of Iowans, if allowed a vote, would vote to disengage from this stamp of approval on homosexual marriage. Would you lead on that issue is my question.
Well, let me answer this way. I would provide what I believe would be co-leadership on the marriage issue, but not as you would define it, because I would call together the pastors of this state and challenge them to fight sin. See, I'm not going to say, well, let's single out homosexuals because that's what raises money for the family leader, while at the same time ignoring adultery, at the same time ignoring children who don't have fathers because they make babies and don't raise their babies.
I'm going to stop you here because I'm going to tell you why that won't work. Okay, we have gay marriage in Iowa because we don't care about sin. So you want to fix gay marriage, you want to call the church in so they can stand from the pulpit and yell sinners.
No, that's not why we have. The issue of gay marriage never would have sustained its momentum if on that day they wouldn't have decided to turn the issue into a Bob Vanderplat's platform agenda item. So let's fast forward 5 years to Iowa as it exists today. And as Iowa exists today, there is a need. There is a need for the church to step up and fight sin.
But they're not going to do that.
No, listen, if people think it's a bad idea, don't support me. But this is what Governor Narcisse would do.
But it won't work.
Well, it might not, but what has Branstad done? It's not like Branstad and Hatch have addressed this issue. So this is what I'm saying, as Jonathan would do, and then people can decide whether they like it. Jonathan Narcisse, as governor of Iowa, would call together the pastors of the state and say, you know what? You've done politics poorly, but there's something you're very good at. And I would like to talk to you about how we need to go out there and to fight sin and promote righteousness, and not just target a particular group, but also talk about fathers marrying the women they get pregnant, and things like adultery and infidelity.
With you. Now let me hear you. That I got
I'm not saying
this
it's
right.
okay with me.
It's okay with you for you to stand on a campaign issue and say, here's how we would solve it, even though you know it's not possible. So here's what I'm going to do.
I don't believe it's not possible.
I'm running for governor.
I don't believe it's not possible.
I'm running for governor, and every single person in this state, I'm going to give them $100,000.
No,
you going to vote for me?
First of all,
absolutely,
and a cell phone, and a cell phone,
Matt, first of all,
and a car.
I don't believe it's not possible.
It's not possible. You're not going to get. You're not going to get pastors in Iowa to stand up for you.
You know what? Here's the interesting thing, and actually, I talked to a lot of pastors, and here's the interesting thing, Matt. Before I got to the school board, I said things like, you know what, we need to go door to door and reach out to folks and bring kids back to school. And I remember Mark Ward, for example, laughing at me in the register room. And you know what? The week after I got off the school board, they had a massive outreach door to door. And I can name a whole lot of things. I've pulled together Republicans and Democrats from the opposite end of the spectrum to sit in a room jointly in front of the public and say, we are willing to collaborate. I did that as private citizen.
Okay.
I absolutely believe I would be able to do that as governor. And despite your skepticism, it would work.
Okay. I
love
wish,
you, Mac, but you're wrong.
I wish to heavens we could prove that, but that's going to go on the unprovable list.
Well, vote for me.
So I did before, remember?
Yes.
You had 3 votes. There was me, you, and I don't know who else you come lose.
I got
there was
more
3
than
of
3
us.
votes. I actually got support in every county, every House and Senate district.
All right, so
every precinct.
You believe, this is a yes or no answer, by the way.
Maybe.
Does anybody believe that?
Ask the question. It might be.
So if I apply for welfare, you're going to drug test me?
No, but I believe the Department of Human Services absolutely should. And if I become governor, I'll push for it.
As the governor.
Despite the opposition from Republicans.
As the governor, you're going to require anybody receiving public money, welfare, is going to get drug tested.
And do some work.
And do some work.
And show some ID when they go to use their food stamp cards, which you know what that means? It means kids will actually get more food in their belly, Mac.
Okay.
We'll have a decline in the purchase of alcohol, tobacco, gambling, and drugs, but kids will actually eat better.
That comes to my next question. You want legalized marijuana?
First of all, when we talk, are we talking medical marijuana or marijuana?
Well, I think he's talking about what Colorado and Washington State
I want to go to the bottom of the slippery slope. I'm talking about smoking dope on the corner and not getting busted.
Medical marijuana is a no-brainer, first of all.
Okay, yeah, but move past that. We're talking about recreational marijuana.
Medical marijuana is a no-brainer. Second of all, I believe that the complete inconsistency of our judicial system has come to the point where I no longer want to fund a war on those who can't afford attorneys. So I want to stop locking people up for smoking dope. Make them pay a fine and call it a day. When Dr. David England can have dope in every room of his house and get sentenced to community service and expungement, and Officer Trimble can sell dope and steal dope from a police station and sell it in the inner city, and he gets sentenced to community service at a school district that won't let him do it, so he goes and does it at a living history farm, then I don't want to lock a kid up for a roach in the name of some morality. Now, I'm a Baptist, and you know what? Our newspaper doesn't accept gambling, liquor, tobacco, or sexually oriented advertising. But you know what? There is no difference between drinking whiskey and smoking weed.
Correct.
So I'm tired of funding the prohibition and hypocrisy that costs hundreds of millions and there's no consistency.
I agree.
So absolutely, I would take and say, you know what? If you get busted, you pay a fine and go on with the rest of your life.
All right.
Now, if you're a seller or a dealer,
Well, how am I
that's
going to
a
get
different
it if nobody
conversation.
sells it to me?
That's a different conversation.
Can I grow it?
That's a different
No.
I think we ought to sell growth permits.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So like Colorado does, you can get a farming permit to grow marijuana.
Absolutely. Because and you know what? And if we had an equitable application of justice, I might have a different position. But when Dr. David England, who has dope in every room of his house, is the president of DMAC, gets sentenced to community service and expungement, and a inner city kid with a public pretender gets sentenced to jail for a roach, I no longer want to spend $500 million a year funding that foolishness.
One quick question, Jonathan. If you go into the polls and you were denied the ability to vote for yourself, who would you vote for governor this time around?
I would write in.
No, I mean you can't write yourself in. Who are you going to vote for? Who else on the ballot would you vote for?
Well, I can't support the Donald Sterling of Iowa, especially after learning the true nature of his N-word racist tirade. That would be Jack Hatch.
Yeah, Jack Hatch.
I can't support Governor Branstad because I know just how much damage he's done to the state as a deep
30 seconds.
policy wonk. And I can't support Dr. Lee Heeb. So,
You're left with, you couldn't vote then if you couldn't vote for yourself.
Yeah,
You don't even see a lesser of two evils in those three options.
I don't vote for the lesser of two evils. I vote for the right person.
I want to thank you, Jonathan, for being here. Tom, thanks for being here. Ryan, thanks for producing. I will see you tomorrow. Testify, 12 noon, Incredible Pizza. Rabbi David Kaufman will be there to Q&A what's going on in the Middle East right now. I want some real answers. And every good Christian goes to their rabbi to find those answers, all right? Until I see you again, do me a favor. Figure out somebody in your life that's living rent-free in your head and forgive them.